Well, thank you, Aaron. It's a pleasure to be here. And yeah, Aaron and I go back a few years. 10, 15 years ago, I was on the State Organic Advisory Council. Our meetings down here in Madison, got to know a lot of great people. A lot of good relationships were built. Like Aaron had said, I'm a dairy farmer. I milk cows 28 years. Everyone's got a story to tell. I'll tell you mine so you know who you're dealing with. My farm is located just outside of Stevens Point, north here about 90 miles. Right in the heart of the Central Sands, on the northern side of the Central Sands. A lot of cash crop potato farmers, vegetable growers, a few dairies that are still left. My dad was 65 when I was 18. I took over the farm in 1986. Milked cows for 28 years, transitioned to organic in 2004. Sold my first organic corn in 2007, $6 a bushel. I thought I won the lottery. Incredible. So I sold a lot of $2 corn and $6 beans conventionally in my day. Transitioned my dairy herd, small dairy herd, 40 cows. The one thing on my side, I could not get any bigger. I was a family farm. My dad and we farmed 7 years before I lost him into cancer, but those were 7 years of the best times of my life. I tilled 200 acres, milked 40 cows, transitioned to organics, got on the organic milk truck back in 2008, shipped my milk with Horizon. Horizon was good to me, I have no complaints. They did sit us down though in December of 2013 and said, listen guys, we need as much milk as you can produce. Add on to your barns, get more cows, do what you need to do, but if the grain price goes down, so will the milk price. They were putting us into a box, produce more for less money. I got involved with grain marketing back in 2007, a small organic cooperative here in the state of Wisconsin called Wisconsin Organic Marketing Alliance, or WOMA. We worked from our homes. My general manager was Paulette Bradley out of Camp Douglas, Wisconsin. Somebody once asked me, what's it take to be an organic grain marketer? You gotta have a thick skin and you walk softly and carry a big stick. And Paulette taught me a lot in the organic grain marketing. We were a member, Wisconsin Organic Marketing Alliance. WOMA was a member of Old Farm. Worked with Paulette through up to 2018. There was a retirement in National Farmers, NFO. I applied for it, I got it. I'm no longer working on a commission. I'm working straight on a salary as an employee of NFO. I get started in the organic cooperatives. We can touch base on Capper-Volstead. Capper-Volstead is giving the rights to cooperatives. 1922, it happened through 1921. Arthur Capper from Kansas and Andrew Volstead from Minnesota. It was the beginning of cooperatives and farmers pooling their production together. And it was the beginning of Land O'Lakes Co-op had started it all in the dairy side of things. They're the originators. It's really a cool story with Land O'Lakes as they were pulling in their milk and making more butter, and the buyers didn't like it. The farmers wanted to set their prices, and the buyers wanted to throw the Land O'Lakes founders in jail. Capper-Volstead was created. Capper-Volstead was to allowing the farmers to form cooperatives, allowing the farmers to negotiate and pool their production, and then also to prevent the buyers from creating monopolies and antitrust. The next slide, it's another summary of it. I mean, it's antitrust. Antitrust is huge. The farmers can talk about pricing, the buyers can't in the collusion. The 7 cooperative principles that I like to use and go through: voluntary membership. Our NFO, our membership fee is $125. You don't have to be, well, you do have to be a member to market grain with me. And we'll get into that a little bit later. Democratic membership control, one member, one vote. NFO is a not-for-profit cooperative. Our membership fees and our the economics of our members, we'll touch that a little bit. That all goes off of our commissions that we charge on our producers. And that number 3 there, it kind of irked me a little bit. I mean, there's you got to have some skin in the game, some economic participation. I was a co-op man my entire life. My dad and I, we shipped to a small dairy farm, dairy co-op in Shawano called Consolidated Badger Cooperative. Well, they merged with AMPI. AMPI moved into Foremost Farms. You go through, and cooperatives are supposed to look out for the best interests of their producers. So, you know, life throws curveballs at you. My wife and I were going through some struggles here about 10, 12 years ago. I called into Foremost Farms. I say, hey, I got equity in your co-op. Can I cash in some of that money? Oh, no, Mr. Schulist, you can't do that. So I was a little bit sore. Another one here, too, is when I shipped my cows, and I sold my cows back in 2014, most of my cows went right to the sale barn. And the conventional market was really strong at that time. And it turned out well, but I had a guy in my house when I was shipping the cattle, and he asked me, you know, Mike, what else do you have? And at this time, I had my kids were showing hogs in the fair, and we had a couple of feeder pigs, and not a lot, maybe 10, 15 feeder pigs. And well, the guy said, well, you know, what do you got to have for those feeder pigs? And I said, well, man, I'd like to get $50 a piece. And the guy fell off his chair. He goes, oh my gosh, the market's not that. How can you charge so much? And I went right out and I told the guy, I said, hey, 1979, my dad was selling feeder pigs at $40, $50 a piece. And here, 35 years later, I'm not entitled to it. I found, needless to say, they didn't get my feeder pigs, and I found another outlet. So that was a little bit sore with me. And you know, you get through it and you go through, but there is economics in becoming a co-op member. So in a nutshell, cooperative marketing pulls production from its members, prevents undercutting. Undercutting happens in the market. No matter how much you like it, how much you don't, it happens. You know, you gotta, here in this market, you gotta have a thick skin, but you have to have a short memory too. I had a group here this last fall. I had 3, 4 of our farmers put together a nice package, about 4,000 or 5,000 bushels of organic rye. We sent it to our end user, germ tests. Oh yeah, we need it. And at the end of the transaction, we were getting ready to sign the papers, get everything going. The end user goes, oh gosh, you know, Mike, I got another guy, and you know, yada yada yada. He kept giving me excuses. And what had happened is he had another buyer or another seller, which was, whether it's from the States or where it's from Canada, I don't know. But he undercut us 50 to 60 cents. We lost the deal, and we weren't going to play that game and undercut ourselves anymore into that market. A fair buck, that's what I'm after in the marketplace, looking out for the best interests of my producers. One of my co-workers, he since has retired, and not to take anything away from Jim or any other buyer in this room, he always had a comment, well, the buyers, they all look the same, Mike. They're ugly. So, you know, and you look at things and you think about it. For me as a seller, working with my producers, you almost got to think as a buyer. That buyer wants that crop, he wants that grain. He wants that as cheaply as he can get it. Each one of us in this room, if we want to go to a car dealership, My future brother-in-law just bought himself a brand new pickup. I didn't even want to know what he paid for it or how it went through. All I asked him is, did you get a fair deal? Do you feel good about it? He goes, yeah. And can you afford the payments? Yeah, I'm all good. He got my blessing, and away you go. So on the bargaining organizations, National Farmers, we are exclusive bargaining, in the collective bargaining. We've got a marketing agreement that the producer gives us the exclusive right to market their commodity, their corn, hay, grain, whatever it is. It's very similar to a listing in a house. Back in the day when I was sitting down with my banker around the year 2000 and yeah, I got this 40 cow dairy herd, how can I make more money? What can I do between milkings, get another job off the farm to generate? I ended up getting my real estate license. I spent 5.5 years doing real estate sales up in Wausau. Good experience. I worked with appraisers, getting the handle onto the values, and this organic grain marketing is very similar to a real estate transaction. National Farmers NFO, who is my employer. We've got a dairy department, we've got a livestock department, we've got a grain department. I manage the organic grain department called NF Organics. Our dairy department, on the pie of things, if you were to take a picture of NFO, and it's a wonderful organization. Our dairy department is probably 60% of our sales. The livestock department is probably 39% of our sales. The grain department is maybe 1-2% of our sales. Is it a challenge? Yes, it is. But is it an opportunity? Absolutely. It's an exciting time to be involved in organic agriculture. It's just a lot of good things going on, and glad to be part of it. And there is our logo with NF Organics. My official title is Organic Grain Representative. It's on my business card. I'm an employee. I answer to a grain committee of NFO board members, procure new members, contract grain for our organic NFO members, and oversee the performance of all involved in the transaction. It's a big part of it. Communication. You get into some of these transactions, I'm sure Jim can say it, you hang up the phone, you wonder what the heck just happened here. It's just, it's an interesting business. Don't be confused with a broker. I'm not a broker. I'm an organic grain representative. Brokers do have their place. If you're dealing with a broker, that's fine and dandy. The questions I would have for a broker, especially now with the strengthening in organic enforcement rules, are they certified organic as a handler? Are they licensed and bonded? Big questions, and they got to know. Our mission statement is, again, to look out for the best interest of our producers, going through and getting a fair price based on the supply and demand. And what is a fair price? It changes for everybody. It changes every day. Some ideas of a fair price are different from producer to producer. I had a farmer this last year in South Dakota. Called him up. Well, he called me up. He said, "Oh, Mike, I got my corn is in, my beans are in. When you get me a market, just let me know." I called him up and I asked him what his idea of a market is on a soybeans. He said, "Oh my gosh, Mike, I sold my soybeans last year for $40. And I said, "Well, they're not going to be there." Needless to say, it kind of dropped off my priority list for a bit until, will they hit there? I don't know. It was a lot of stress last year for the end users with the soybean market. My rule number one when you're dealing with me, and I learned this when I was going to school on the appraisals, always assume people are telling you the truth. If they're lying to you, it's their problem, not yours. Believe it or not, you'll have a fellow with the bins there, and he'll tell me, "Oh, Mike, I got 6,000 bushels of really good 15% corn." It comes down, he's only got 3,000 bushels and he's at 17%. You know, it's on you. It's on the producer. But I'm assuming, always assume that you're telling the truth, and if you're lying, it's your problem. And I tell the truth all the time, so I don't have to worry about it. But it is, you know, the things you see in the business. Like I said, my job is to look out for a fair buck. That market, that's kind of my slogan. The market's changing every day. Every day. In the market, I've got people calling me every day. I've had a buyer, end users calling me looking for organic Milo. I can't find it, and I asked them, well, you know, can we get some forward contracts for some of my producers to grow some Milo? Well, we'll see. And, you know, to do that forward contracting, it does have its place. We'll talk a little bit on the market discovery and a little bit further on, but whether it be, you know, for organic producers to have that diverse rotation with the small grains. Gluten-free is huge. Milo, white proso, millet, they have their places and coming on. I think Jim and I can agree to this on a smooth transaction. Everybody wants a smooth transaction. Nobody wants to see a cloudy transaction. If you're going to eat frogs, eat the biggest one first. Don't let things fester. Grab the ball by the horns and get it done and get it on and over with and move forward. It's not easy. It's a tough business. This is one of the slides I'm most proud of here. Just lately, this last month, we got our organic certificate. I teased my wife I had the inspection back in September. I got the guys from NFO, when are we getting that certificate? And I told my wife around Christmas time, all I want for Christmas is an organic certificate with the NFO's name on it. She told me I need to get a hobby. So organic certificate, licensed in bonding, certified as a handler. It opened up a lot more doors for us with our end users. Again, in the licensing and bonding, the requirements change from state to state. Everybody is different. Every state is different. I don't handle the licensing and bonding. That's handled right down in Ames. Our national secretary, our financial officer, they handle all that. I just say, hey, are we licensed and bonded in this state? Yep, go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do those transactions. We can sell into a state that we're not licensed and bonded in, but we cannot represent a farmer from a state that we're not licensed and bonded in. Nebraska has got a heck of a bond. A farmer will call me from Nebraska and I'll have to refer him to somebody else just because we just can't handle that transaction. Got a couple of copies here of some of our certificates. South Dakota, every certificate is renewable. Changes, expires. You got to renew those and get them in. Again, if you're not dealing with somebody that's licensed and bonded, ask them why not. South Dakota, North Dakota, here's Wisconsin. One that I'm proud of here, we just recently started working with farmers from Montana. I had an opportunity a couple of years ago to take a drive out to Montana Organic Association. Doug Crabtree is coming in to speak at the Marble Seed Conference. Got to go out to a field day at his place. Wonderful opportunity, a wonderful group of people out there. I kind of feel sorry for them, though. The last couple of years they were dry. And I've done some forward contracting with them. We've got a deal going right now that's hard red spring wheat coming out of Montana. It's going way to the East Coast into Boston to an end user bakery. We're handling the transactions. Why are we handling the transactions? Because we're licensed and bonded in the state of Montana. So here we go into some of our contracting. The form on the right is our membership agreement. I will not market for anybody unless I get a signed membership agreement into my office. I will bill them on on the $125 membership fee, and they will send me a copy of their organic certificate to get in with me. Marketing agreement, here I've got one from Carmen Fernholtz a couple years ago on peas and on corn. The one was left open. Carmen will sign the contract, Mike find me a market, and they'll add the price later. Here's one that I have from my fellow in Montana, Johnny Wicks. What I've got, signed marketing agreement, sends me a copy of his organic certificate. This was an acres contract, act of God in it in case you'd have a crop failure. His crop was harvested, he ran the tests. I've got the quality results here, the protein, the DON number, the falling number. This is a package that I go into the market with to the end user and say, hey, I've got some wheat here. And this is the package that I hold off to our organic certifier when I do get inspected. They want to see every paper trail that I have. I'll add to this when the weight slips come in, when the bill of lading comes in, all that information comes into me, and I have that, and that information is just mine and between mine and the certifier. So when we do get into a transaction on our side, and again, one of the biggest differences of dealing with an organic cooperative versus a broker, it's done on our paper. It's our paper. I'll generate this workshop. I just did one here the other day for Carmen when he sold some barley, went into Albert Lee Seed. You write in the buyer's information, you write in the quality, you write in the price. At the end, the amount of bushels, the quantity, and all that information I generate that at my home office. It gets emailed into our office manager. From that, she'll pick that out and she'll send out a sales notification. In Carmen's case, we sold into Albert Lee Seed. Albert Lee Seed will get a contract with our terms on it, our payment schedule on it. They'll sign that and they'll send that back over. It's our paper trail. Talk about information. Here's USDA's crop report, or market report. Heath Dewey's a good man. I've known Heath a number of years. He reports on the markets every 2 weeks. This one here, and I kept that for a reason. It's from December of 2020, just a little over 2 years ago. Look at the prices. The competition in the organic market is not so much the farmers against the farmers, it's the farmers against the conventional market. We see prices like this again, guess what? We're not going to get organic acres. Those farmers are not going to transition to organic with those type of prices. It's got to have a fair buck. You got to put pressure on the market. This market is totally different than the conventional. It's not produced more for less money. Because if that happens, if that farmer's in that box, well, guess what? He's not going to become organic. Not much to show up. Oh, there it is. The emotions of the market. I like to think you take the emotions out of the market. If you're fear into the market that the market's going to go down, you live in the awareness. You don't live in fear, you live in the awareness. That market will go up and down every day. Greed in the market. I had a gal last year from Iowa. She called me every other day, it seemed, and every day she wanted a higher price, or every day when I talked to her and, oh yeah, I got this price for you, I can make it happen, make it all work. Oh, I want 50 cents more. Oh, I want 50 cents more. And at the end, I just quit answering the phones. I got caller ID, I know. And you hate to see it, but it does happen. There's just a seasonal tendency. We all know that corn usually peaks around the 4th of July. I like to have all my producers, their bins either empty or all under contract by the 4th of July. It's crazy. Last year when I was out with my wife out west, we were doing some farm meetings in South Dakota. You turn on the radio, and what do you get for the market report? You get the weather report. And if it's raining anywhere in the country, anywhere in South America, anywhere there's a reason, they're going to soften up that market. This one actually has a wheat in this graph. One thing about wheat and barley, it's 80% the feed value of corn. If you're going to grow a small grain, let it be wheat or barley. You can always, if it doesn't make a milling grade, it can make a feed grade, and you can move it out before the fall harvest of your corn and beans. Price before production, forward contracting. We do a fair amount of forward contracting. Right now we're into the bean side of forward contracting on the clear hilums. We all know that clear hilums, they do have a yield drag, thus we should be getting a better price than on the feed grade side of things. Some of my farmers will market and they want everything contracted before they even stick a seed in the ground. Some do and some don't. What's your risk? All I say is conventional, or it's conservative numbers. Don't count your chickens before they're hatched. Those guys in Montana, they like to forward contract as much as they can. We use a yield on their spring wheat of 15 bushel to the acre. If they get more, that's fantastic. If they get less, the chances are they're covered. And it's a good thing to have some of your production forward contracted, as Jim knows it in the industry. Market discovery. These two pictures, I've got a couple of good producers in Minnesota. Well, the picture here on the left, that's organic spelt. Organic spelt is up and coming. I've got some deals going on. It's a crop that not everybody grows, which is a good thing. I mean, you've got that opportunity, and of course the one on the right here is organic kernza, and that's a picture again from Carmen's farm, and the other one is from Keith Spelt's from Altura, Minnesota, and that's spelt. So again, up and coming markets, opportunities is market discovery is part of my job. Market development. When I was out in Montana this last spring, this last December, I had a good conversation with Gary Iverson. He's a good man. He gave me some samples of these hull-less oats. Can they be grown in this area? Can we get them going? There's some opportunities. Gary is reaching all the way into eastern North Dakota looking for acres. His market is different than what our market would be here in the Midwest. He gets it into Montana, he processes it, and it goes down into California, and he feeds into that West Coast market. There is no need for competition between him and us. So is there an opportunity? Absolutely. I mean, we've got some good end users in the state. We've got Graham down there in East Troy. I've sold into his operation some organic oats. We've got John Webking here with his mill. We got Harold down there in Illinois with his mill. These mills don't have to get bigger. They just that model exists. They can just move, they get created within 100 miles of our producers. They don't need to get bigger. Another part of market discovery, and there it is, a bag of oats at Fleet Farm, $26.49, 50 pounds, not even two bushels in there. What's that tell you? I showed that to a farmer in Minnesota at the organic conference a couple weeks ago. He said, "Oh my gosh," he goes, "I'm going to undercut that market right there, and I'll make some chicken feed for my producers, for the people around." Again, market discovery, and everyone's got one. I mean, I look at that picture and I think of my sister who has been off the farm for many years. She'll go to Fleet Farm, she'll see that price, she'll come back to me and say, oh my God, those farmers are making money. You know, it's, we know that. I actually went on Chicago Board of Trade that day just curious to see what the price of oats were for conventional oats, and that day they were $3.30 a bushel. I had a farmer from Minnesota call me the other day. He had some oats. He's got a Canadian buyer that offered him $4.25 a bushel for his organic oats at the bin. It's ugly. It's a shame. Oats is such a good crop to grow. Good for the fertility. Good for the soil. Good for the rotation. Years ago in our county, the potato growers would put or they would put oats into their rotation and underseed with red clover. They don't do that anymore. It's unfortunate. The market's not there. Room for improvement. I mean, maybe some of these food co-ops can start selling chicken feed to their members. I don't know. This was a picture I had taken when I was out in Montana, and I was with a group of farmers. We had breakfast at a gal's place. I like to think my wife's got every kitchen gadget. Yeah, she's got more tools in the toolbox than I have in my shed. But we don't have one of these. And it was a grinder. The gal brought in corn. She ground corn, made the flour right there. We had corn flour pancakes that day for breakfast. It was incredible. I mean, who would have thought, who can think, you know, maybe down the road, Harold or John, they can have small bags like that, sell it through. I mean, who would have thought that, if my parents were alive today, who would have thought that people are grinding their own coffee, buying the beans and grinding it right at home? Why can't they grind their own flour?
So I do want to make sure we have enough time for Jim too. So.
Yep, I'm wrapping up.
No, you're good, Mike.
So, and again, you know, with co-ops, we're into better prices, contracting terms that are on your paper, price monitoring, market intelligence, and timely payments. If there's one thing I know we need to improve within our own organizations, is to get our checks out to our producers quicker. I know with NFO and our dairy department, that's all ACHs, direct deposits, and I push for that as we go through. Another quick slide, I'll handle it through logistics. I had a farmer, we handle our logistics. I've got a good group of truckers that I work with. I had a farmer that told me, well, you know, I was selling his soybeans, and he told me, well, you know, Mike, find me a trucker. I found him a trucker, a dispatcher, and I called him up. I said, hey, did you get your beans done yet? Did you get hauled out? He goes, oh my gosh, Mike, they're doing a credit report on me. I go, a credit report? He said, well, I'm not selling a house or buying a house. I'm just selling my beans. I need somebody to go through. But that was his hoops. Next, O-Farm. O-Farm, Organic Farmers Agency Relationship Marketing. It's coordinate the efforts, their mission statement right there, to coordinate the efforts to sustain certified organic producers. Aims and objectives to strengthen the marketing programs of its members' organizations, inventory, keep track of the market, development, and support. Efficiency. This is a quote from Dr. Richard Levins. I can relate to this. As I was a small dairy farmer, what the industry was telling us on the conventional side, we need to put our resources together. We need to get bigger because we need to get more efficient. It doesn't say anything about price. We need to get more efficient. In government policies, government programs, I mean, we all participated in them. Believe it or not, though, I do have producers that don't do anything with government payments. Again, one of the keys with O-Farm is information. I will attest to that and attest to communication, knowing where that market is and how to address it. Exciting time in ag, climate smart. Old Farm was part of a grant with Marble Seed. I'm excited to know that. And they did get awarded. We're going to be able to hire a field service coordinator that's going to work with myself. This business is not easy. It's not. It takes time to get into it. And
We really should transition.
Yep.
Okay.
And I'm gonna just one more slide. This is a picture of my farm. I rent my ground to my cousin. That's organic potatoes right there. They just look beautiful. These soybeans were planted in on May 15th. The John Deere 7,000 6-row 30-inch rows were not cultivated. The one thing that we can do is we've got pivot irrigation systems so they don't see the stress. One more slide. One of the jobs I had when I quit dairy farming, and some of the best advice I had when I quit dairy farming was an elderly woman from Michigan. I was selling hay for her husband or for her son, and she said, "Oh, Mike, you navigate into farming, you navigate out of farming. Remember, always there's one thing. There's always work for a worker." I was a school bus driver. These kids, I'd pick them up. I was in the poorest neighborhoods and through the trailer park. Each one of those kids had a chance. You don't know what their days were. Every day is a good day. I look out in the crowd here, and we've got everybody's on a different journey. Everybody's on a different part of their lives, but we all got a chance. We all got a chance to bring something good into this industry.